She was tossed like trash, until a human stopped the auction. The rain fell hard over the alien slave market, turning the dirt into sticky mud. Strange lights flashed above, and alien voices echoed through the air. Traders shouted, buyers barked. Their bids and guards dragged frightened slaves across the wet ground. It was just another day in the outer world bazaar where the unwanted were sold to the cruel and the rich. Near the back of the auction block, a broken figure lay still. She was small for her kind, an alien girl with torn wings and pale silver skin. Her clothes were ragged, barely hanging on her thin frame. Her head was shaved, and a rusted collar blinked weakly around her neck. The others had called her useless. Her kind had abandoned her, and now no one wanted to buy her. The auctioneer, a tall, green-skinned alien with a booming voice, stepped forward and shouted, "Next, one female, young winged species, damaged but still alive." Two guards dragged her forward like a sack of waste. Her legs barely moved. One wing was bent in the wrong direction. A weak cough escaped her lips, but she didn't look up. She had learned long ago not to look into the eyes of monsters. Opening. "Bid 10 units, the auctioneer called. Silence. No hands were raised. No voices spoke. The crowd had just bought stronger slaves, fighters, workers, even dancers. But this one, she looked like she would die before the sun rose again. 5 units? The auctioneer tried again. Still, no response. One alien in the crowd laughed and said, "She's not even worth the collar she's wearing." The auctioneer's smile faded. He kicked dust toward her and muttered, "Fine, let's move on." Then a voice spoke, "I'll take her." The crowd turned. A human stood near the edge of the market under a soaked cloak. He was tall and quiet, with rough boots and a strange light in his eyes. Nobody had noticed him before. Now, all eyes were on him. The auctioneer blinked. "You want that one?" The human nodded. "She's useless, broken, can't even walk." "I said I'll take her," the human repeated, calm but firm. One of the guards snorted. "You buying her to study her, human, or you just feel sorry for garbage?" The human stepped forward and handed over the credits. "Name?" the auctioneer asked, confused. "Jace. Species?" "Human." "Purpose for purchase?" "Jace." Looked down at the broken girl, her eyes still closed, body shaking. He paused, then answered softly, "To give her a chance." The crowd mumbled in confusion. Some laughed again. But the auctioneer shrugged and handed Jace a small control chip. "She's yours. Don't come back if she dies on the road." Jace knelt beside her and gently touched her arm. She flinched. "Won't hurt you," he said. No response. He pressed the chip against her collar. It clicked, and the collar turned green. "You're free now," he whispered. Her eyes opened slowly. One was swollen, the other wide with fear. She looked at his face, expecting another blow, but instead he wrapped her in a blanket and lifted her into his arms. As he turned to leave the market, someone shouted, "You'll regret that, human. She's not worth it." Jace didn't stop. The girl's body trembled as he carried her through the rain. "Why?" she asked, her voice dry and cracked. "Why? Would you save someone like me?" He looked down at her. "You're not trash," he said. "You're still breathing. That's enough." She stared at him, unsure whether to believe or fear him. But she didn't close her eyes. Not this time. As they vanished into the wet night, the market lights flickered behind them. A new journey had begun, one the galaxy would never forget. She feared his kind, but the human never raised his hand. The storm had not stopped. Jace walked through the mud and smoke of the dying world, holding the frail alien girl close to his chest. Her name was still unknown to him. Her body was cold, her skin pale like frozen metal. He wrapped her tighter in his cloak as the wind howled through the ruins of old buildings. Each step away from the slave market felt like a war with the past. The girl's eyes were half open, but she didn't speak again. She stared at his face, waiting for pain, because pain was all she had known. She had been beaten, starved, and sold. So when he built a small fire inside a broken stone shelter, she flinched. When he pulled out a food pack, she shook her head. "Eat," Jace said, softly placing it beside her. "It's warm." She didn't touch it. He didn't force her. He just sat near the fire, legs crossed, facing away so she didn't feel cornered. His back was straight, his weapons beside him, but he made no move to threaten. Just silence and warmth. Two things she didn't understand. Hours passed. She finally reached for the food with shaking hands and took one bite, then more. Her fingers trembled, but she ate every last piece like someone who hadn't tasted food in weeks. Jace glanced her way once, offering no smile, no questions, just calm eyes and steady breath. "Why did you buy me?" she asked suddenly. Her voice was rough, small. He looked at her and answered simply, "Because no one else would." She lowered her eyes. That answer hurt more than kindness. The wind whistled outside and thunder rolled over the horizon. This planet was cursed. The locals had long left or died fighting over scraps. Bandits roamed at night, and screams were common in the dark. But here, in this broken shelter, there was quiet. Still, sleep didn't come easily for her. Every time she closed her eyes, images returned, of chains, of whips, of faces that laughed while she bled. And every time she jerked awake with a soft cry, Jace was still there watching the entrance, never moving toward her. 3 nights passed, 3 fires burned, and still, he never asked for her name. On the 4th day, she spoke first. "Sira," she said, barely a whisper. Jace turned his head slightly. "Sira," he repeated like a secret word he didn't want to break. She looked at him for a long moment. "You're not afraid of me?" "Why would I be? My people fear me. Your kind fears us. I was once powerful. Now I'm just broken." Jace reached into his pack and pulled out a small device, a translator collar. He held it out to her. "Yours is cracked," he said. "This one works." She hesitated. Her old collar was dead, half fried from shock pulses. She had worn it like a shackle. But this new one, it looked different. Clean. Untouched. She reached for it. He didn't move. When she placed it around her neck, the light blinked green. Her voice when she next spoke was clear and smooth. "I thought humans hated aliens," she said. "Some do," Jace answered. "But not you. I don't waste time hating strangers." Sira stared at him with narrow eyes. "Then what do you waste time on?" He gave the faintest smile. "Helping the wrong people, I guess." She didn't smile back, but something in her chest shifted. Later that night, bandits came. It started with footsteps in the dark. Loud, heavy, laughing. Sira crawled into the corner, shaking. Jace grabbed his plasma rifle and stood silently near the door. 3 shadows appeared. Alien raiders with glowing blades and blood on their boots. "You hiding anyone in there, human?" one asked, voice thick with mockery. Jace didn't move. "This is my shelter." "You alone?" Jace didn't answer. One of them stepped forward and pushed the door open. "We smell something sweet in there," he said, eyes scanning past Jace toward Sira. Jace didn't blink. "Leave." The raider laughed. "You gonna stop me?" "No," Jace said. "But this will." In one flash, the rifle fired. The lead raider dropped before he could scream. The others attacked, but Jace didn't hesitate. His movements were precise, trained. Blood sprayed across the walls. Within seconds, all 3 raiders were down. Sira's breath caught in her throat. She had seen violence before. Ugly, cruel violence. But this was something else. Jace killed only to protect. Not for sport, not for rage, just necessity. He lowered his rifle and sat again beside the fire. He didn't speak. He didn't brag. He just cleaned the weapon with slow hands. Sira moved closer for the first time, and then she said the words she never thought she'd say again. "Thank you." Jace looked up, surprised. "For what?" for not being like the others. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Because when Sierra lay down that night, she slept through the darkness for the first time in years. Her scars were deep, but the human taught her to stand again. The fire was nothing but dying coals. Morning light crept through the cracks in the walls of their broken shelter. Sierra woke to the sound of quiet breathing. Steady, calm. She blinked, slowly, her body aching, but for the first time there was no rush of fear, no panic twisting in her chest. Jace was already awake, sitting by the door with his back against the wall. His weapon rested on his lap, but his eyes were on the sky. The storm had finally passed. Sierra sat up carefully. Her muscles were still weak, and the wounds on her back burned when she moved. Her wings had been shattered long ago, but now she could feel something different. Not healing, not yet, but maybe the start of it. He turned his head slightly. "You slept through the night." She nodded. "First time in years." "Good," he said. A long silence followed. She stared at the dirt floor. Her hands rested on her knees, thin fingers curled into fists. "You didn't have to protect me," she whispered. "I know." "Then why did you?" He didn't answer at first. Then he said, "Because I've seen too many people get stepped on and left behind. Someone needs to stand for them." She looked up, meeting his eyes. "And who stood for you?" His expression didn't change. "No one. That's why I do it now." Those words hit her like a wave. Sierra stood slowly, wobbling a little. Jace moved, ready to help, but she raised a hand. "No," she said firmly. "Let me try." He stepped back. She took 2 steps and almost fell. Pain shot through her legs and spine. Her body screamed to collapse, to give up, but she clenched her jaw and pushed forward. 3 steps, then 4, then back to the wall. She leaned against it, panting. Jace nodded. "You've still got fight in you." She gave him a weak smile. "Or maybe I'm just tired of crawling." That day they left the shelter behind. Jace said there was a place far away, an old outpost called Safe Point. It used to be a station where broken things were fixed. Ships, machines, sometimes people. No one knew if it still existed, but Jace believed it might. And Sierra, for reasons she didn't fully understand, chose to believe in him. They traveled through ruined fields and dead cities. The world was full of silence and ash. Creatures lurked in the shadows, and some nights they heard howling, but they kept moving. Each step was pain for Sierra. Every hill felt like a mountain, but Jace never rushed her, never shouted. He walked at her pace, always a few feet ahead, letting her choose when to stop and when to press on. One night, as they camped beneath the shell of an old transport ship, she asked, "You were a soldier, weren't you?" He didn't look at her. "Used to be." "Did you lose your war?" "I walked away from it," he replied. "There was nothing left to win." She looked into the fire. "Me too." Her voice cracked. She told him everything. About her people, the betrayal, the collar, the silence they forced on her after, breaking her wings. "I was born with weak blood," she said. "In my world, that meant I was a curse. My father sold me the day I turned 13. Said it was better than letting me bring shame to his name." Jace didn't interrupt. He just listened. When she finished, her eyes were wet. He finally said, "They were wrong. You don't even know me." "I know enough," he replied. That night, the bond between them shifted. She wasn't just a broken girl anymore, and he wasn't just a savior. They were something else. 2 lost souls, walking toward something neither could name. But peace was never meant to last. On the 7th night, as they passed through a broken dome city, they were ambushed. A blaster bolt shot from the rooftops. Jace tackled Sierra behind a wrecked transport, his rifle already in hand. "They followed us," he said through gritted teeth. "Who?" "Bounty hunters. Probably tracked my credits from the market. Or maybe someone put a price on your head." Sierra's eyes went wide. "Then leave me. I'm the reason they're here." Jace looked at her like she'd lost her mind. I didn't come this far to throw you to wolves. A second bolt flew past, then another. Jace returned fire, hitting one shooter on the roof. More movement came from the alley. We're surrounded, he yelled. Sierra saw him take a shot to the shoulder. He winced but didn't fall. Something inside her snapped. The girl who once flinched at every sound now reached for a weapon. A broken staff lay nearby, half charged with power. She grabbed it with both hands, stood up, and faced the alley. Her knees trembled, but she didn't back down. A bounty hunter rushed in, and Sierra struck. The staff lit up, slamming into the alien's chest with a burst of light. He crashed into the wall. Sierra stood there, chest rising, eyes wide. She had fought. She had won. Jace leaned against the wall, bleeding but smiling. I told you. Still got fight. Sierra dropped the staff, shaking. I didn't do it for me. I know, he said, voice weak. You did it for us. As the last of the attackers fled, Sierra knelt beside Jace. He was pale but alive. Hold on, she said. I'll get you to safe point. I promise. The girl who once waited to die now had someone to fight for, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. They called her weak. Then she took down a hunter. The sun rose slowly over the ruins, casting long shadows over broken metal and shattered glass. The dome city, once a proud alien capital, was now silent and scarred. The air smelled of smoke and old death. It was a place where even ghosts had stopped screaming. Sierra walked through the dust, her arms trembling under Jace's weight. He was badly wounded. Blood soaked the cloth she had tied around his shoulder, and his skin had turned pale. His eyes opened now and then, only to close again with a groan. Each step felt like a mountain, but she refused to stop. You said, you'd take me to safe point, Jace whispered weakly. I will, Sierra said, tightening her grip. But first I have to keep you alive. The path was not safe. She knew others would come. Bounty hunters never worked alone. Word must have spread. A human soldier traveling with a broken alien girl. To some, that meant danger. To others, it meant money. And to one hunter, it meant revenge. That night, Sierra found an abandoned clinic deep inside the ruins. She forced open the doors, dragging Jace inside. The lights flickered, but some systems still worked. With shaky hands, she activated an old medical pod. It hissed to life, scanning Jace's body. The machine spoke in a cold voice. Foreign tissue damage, internal bleeding, stabilizing patient. Sierra collapsed beside him. Her body ached. Her eyes heavy, but she couldn't sleep. Not yet. As the pod worked, she stood watch at the broken window. She held the cracked staff in her hands, the same one she had used to stop the bounty hunter. That moment still echoed in her mind. She had fought. Not because she was trained. Not because she wanted glory. She fought because she finally believed she could. But the real test hadn't come yet. It arrived the next morning. A shadow moved in the street. Tall, armored, and silent. It didn't knock. It didn't speak. It just entered the clinic like it owned the world. Sierra turned, weapon raised. The figure stepped into the light. It was no bounty hunter. It was a reaper, a high-class tracker, masked, cloaked in black armor, with glowing red eyes. His voice was deep, mechanical, like metal grinding against bone. You, he said, pointing at her. The girl with the broken wings. Sierra froze. She knew that voice. I was paid well to find you, the Reaper said, but I would have done it for free. Her throat tightened. You were there. The night they tore my wings. The Reaper stepped closer. I held the blade. A scream built inside her chest, but she didn't let it out. Instead, she raised the staff and stood between the Reaper and Jace. You're not taking him, she said. I'm not here for him, the Reaper replied. But I'll kill him anyway, no witnesses. Sierra's heart pounded. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't strong. She was the girl everyone had tossed aside, but right now, in this moment, she was all that stood between life and death. "Run if you want," the Reaper said. "Beg if you must." "I'm done running," she growled. She attacked first. The staff lit up with blue energy as it struck the Reaper's arm. Sparks flew, but his armor held. He grabbed her by the throat and slammed her into the wall. Pain exploded through her body. She couldn't breathe. The Reaper leaned close. "You are still weak." But then, something changed. Syrah's hand slid under her belt and pressed a button. A shock pulse. The Reaper's armor sparked and hissed. He stumbled back, releasing her. She coughed hard and dropped to her knees. Her fingers found the staff again, and this time she didn't hesitate. She didn't. She lunged forward and struck low into the gap between his leg armor. The Reaper roared. He swung at her head, but she ducked and rolled, using every bit of training Jace had shown her during the past few days. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. She rose, blood dripping from her mouth, and charged again, this time screaming. The staff cracked against the Reaper's mask, once, twice. The third strike shattered the visor. He fell to one knee. She stood over him, breathing hard. "You called me weak," she said, "but I'm still standing and you're not." The Reaper looked up, blood in his eyes. "You'll never be one of them," he spat. "I don't want to be," she replied. "I just want to be free." She raised the staff and knocked him unconscious. Silence returned. Syrah dropped the weapon and fell to the floor beside Jace. The pod had finished. His wounds were sealed, but he was still resting. She leaned against the pod, blood on her face, cuts on her arms. But something inside her had changed. She wasn't broken anymore. She had stood against the nightmare and won. When Jace finally opened his eyes hours later, he looked around, confused. "What happened?" Syrah gave a small smile. "You slept through it." He sat up slowly. "Are you okay?" She nodded. "I will be." He looked at the dented staff. "You fought, didn't you?" "Yes." "Did you win?" "I'm still breathing," she said. "So yes." They didn't need to say more. That night, as they left the ruins, a new fire burned inside her. She wasn't just the girl he saved anymore. She was becoming something else, someone the galaxy would soon fear, or follow. The refuge was gone, but the human would not let her fall. They walked for 2 more days. Syrah had healed, but scars still marked her body and her mind. Jace's shoulder was stiff from the wound, but he moved with purpose. There was no turning back now. The only path left led to Safe Point. Jace had spoken of it like a myth, a hidden place in the mountains, a forgotten outpost where outlaws, runaways, and survivors once took shelter. Old tech, fresh water, and most importantly, peace. Syrah wanted to believe it existed. She had started to believe in many things since meeting him, but when they finally reached the hilltop and looked down at the valley, their hearts dropped. Safe Point was burning. From above they saw it clearly, an old dome station buried in the mountain rock, half collapsed, its defense turrets broken, smoke rising from its central hall. Fires flickered. Bodies lay still in the dirt. The air stank of plasma and ash. Jace's eyes narrowed. Syrah didn't speak. They approached carefully, using the cliffs to stay hidden. As they got closer, they saw the truth. Safe Point had been attacked, and recently, signs of a raid. Scorch, marks on walls, footprints of a dozen species, blood trails, signs of struggle, not war. Whoever came fast and left faster, but not everyone was dead. They found them in the dark, 8 survivors, huddled in the collapsed storage wing. 3 were children, 2 were injured elders. The rest were tired, armed with makeshift weapons, eyes filled with fear. The moment they saw Syrah, a tall alien woman raised a blaster. "What is she doing here?" Jace stepped forward. "She's with me." "She's one of them," the woman spat. "Her kind used to hunt ours." "She's not like them," Jace said. She nearly died escaping them. Sira didn't say a word. She let her silence speak. Her torn wings, the bruises, the old collar around her neck, all told the story. The survivors lowered their weapons, but the fear remained. The leader introduced herself as Brenna, a former engineer who had kept Safe Point alive for years after the fall. Her team had taken in dozens of refugees until the raiders came. They knew where to strike, Brenna said. They disabled our shields before we even heard their ship. Did they take anything? Jace asked. They took people, she replied. 15 of them. Young, strong, healthy. Sira clenched her fists. Slavers. Yes, Brenna said, and they'll come back once they realize they missed a few. Jace nodded. Then we won't be here when they do. The survivors exchanged worried looks. Where would we go? One of them asked. This was the only place left. Jace turned to Sira. We build another, she said. The word surprised even her. You? Brenna said, skeptical. You'll lead? I've been led by monsters, Sira replied. I know what not to become. They spent that night digging out supplies, salvaging what the raiders left behind. Sira helped a young child bury his father. She said nothing during the small ceremony, but the child clung to her hand. Later, Jace found her sitting alone beside a broken tower. They won't follow me, she said. They still see a monster. No, he said gently. They see someone who hasn't stopped standing even after being crushed. She looked at him. They still don't trust me. Then show them why they should. The next morning, the sky turned black again, but not from clouds. A ship descended. Sleek, silent, deadly. Sira recognized its markings instantly. It belonged to her people. Not raiders, not slavers. A royal enforcer. She stepped forward alone, walking, into the open before anyone else could react. Jace called out. Sira, wait. But she raised her hand. I know who it is. The ship landed. Dust swirled. A single figure exited. Tall, armored in silver and red. His face was covered with a mask, but Sira didn't need to see it. She knew him by posture, by presence. Commander Varric, her cousin, the one who had once ordered her wings cut. Still alive, he said through the helmet. I had hoped you'd bleed out quietly. Sorry to disappoint, Sira said. You have no right to wear our name, Varric said. You were cast out, you have no blood, no worth. I have something better, she said. A reason to fight. He pointed at the ruins. You protect these scraps? Is that what you've become? I became free, she said. And I'll fight to keep them free too, then die with them. He raised his arm, and a shock pulse fired toward her. Jace tackled her out of the way. The fight had begun. Raiders poured from the ship. Varric's elite guards moved like ghosts, cutting through the outer ruins. But this time, Sira didn't run. She turned and struck with her staff, driving one enemy to the ground. The survivors fought back too, throwing firebombs, swinging. Metal poles using every corner of Safe Point as a weapon. Jace fought beside Sira, bleeding again, but stronger this time. Not because of strength, but because of purpose. Together, they held the line. Brenna screamed as a guard charged her, but Sira tackled the attacker, knocking him unconscious. One by one, the invaders fell back. Finally, Varric stood alone, weapon crackling. You don't belong anywhere, he hissed. I belong here, Sira said. They clashed. The fight was brutal. Energy blasts lit the air. Varric's strength was unmatched, but Sira had something more. She had will. With one final strike, she drove the staff into his chest. The armor cracked. He fell. She stood over him, breathing hard. I'm not broken anymore, she whispered. Jace pulled her close. And around them, the survivors began to cheer. Not in fear, not in pity, but in respect. Safe Point was still in ruins, but its heart had been reborn, because the girl no one wanted was now the one everyone followed. Her own kind wanted her dead, but the human defied them all. The ashes from the battle had not cooled when the sky darkened again. Sira stood at the edge of the ruined valley, blood still drying on her cheek. Behind her, the survivors of Safe Point were gathering what little they had left. Some were bandaging wounds, others were burying the fallen. The smell of burnt metal and plasma still clung to the air. Jace sat nearby, his shoulder freshly wrapped, watching her. His breath was heavy, but his eyes were calm. He knew that look on Sira's face. It was the same one he wore long ago, when he realized peace was just a pause between wars. Then the sound came, deep, thunderous, a rumble from beyond the clouds. Sira's stomach dropped. "No," she whispered. "Not again." Out of the sky came a ship, much larger than the last. Not a raider craft, not a bounty vessel. It was a royal dreadclaw, a warship of her people. The kind that didn't come to talk. The kind that came to finish what others failed to do. The massive ship hovered above the valley like a beast preparing to strike. A voice boomed from above, echoing from 1,000 hidden speakers. To the outcast, Sira of House Valtor, surrender yourself. You have been judged unfit to live. Your presence brings shame. Give yourself up, and no harm will come to the rest. The survivors froze. Eyes turned toward her. Fear. Doubt. Brenna whispered, "They're here for you." Sira nodded. "Yes, you'll go to them then?" another asked. She didn't answer. Jace stood and stepped beside her. "No, she won't." Everyone turned to him. "They've already tried to kill her, they'll try again, and after that they'll come for all of you. Do you really think giving her up will keep you safe?" An old man stepped forward. "But we're not soldiers. We have children." Jace didn't back down. "Then we fight like survivors, like she did." Sira lowered her head. "You don't have to do this," she said softly. He looked at her, firm. "I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because it's right." Suddenly, a smaller transport ship broke off from the Dreadclaw and descended quickly. It landed with a hiss at the edge of the ruins. Sira stepped forward. "I'll speak to them." "Alone." Jace grabbed her wrist. "That's what they want." "I know," she said, "but I want them to see me, not as a shadow, not as a secret, but as me." He let her go. Sira walked slowly toward the ship, wings dragging behind her like ghosts of the past. The ramp opened, and 3 figures stepped out, royal enforcers in dark armor. Between them stood a tall woman dressed in ceremonial robes. Her name was Terilyn, the first speaker of House Valtor. Sira had once called her aunt. "You look alive," Terilyn said coldly. "That's disappointing." Sira didn't flinch. "You always preferred me dead. You were born broken, your wings were flawed, your mind too curious. You were never fit for royal blood. But you kept the throne," Sira said. "You needed me out of the way." Terilyn smiled. "And you stayed out, until now, helping humans." She spat the word like poison. "You came all this way just to insult me?" Sira asked. "No, I came to offer you mercy," Terilyn said. "Come quietly. We'll erase your name from the records, let you vanish like a mistake. Or, we'll erase this whole place." Sira stared back at the crowd behind her. They were watching. Some were afraid, but others, Jace, Brenna, the children, stood tall. "They saved me," she said. "The ones you call lower. They gave me worth when you threw me away." "You are Valtor by blood," Terilyn said sharply. "You were never meant to serve." "I wasn't meant to kneel either," Sira answered. Terilyn's eyes turned cold. "So be it." She turned away. "Execute them all." Sira reached for her communicator. "Jace, now!" A blast shot out from behind the ruins. Jace and the survivors had set up a trap. Old mining cannons charged with power cells pulled from Raider tech. The enforcers scattered. The survivors fired back. And the Second War for Safe Point began. Sierra grabbed one of the enforcers and disarmed him mid-swing. She moved with power now. Her body no longer shaking, her mind no longer broken. Her staff cracked skulls. Her voice shouted orders. She wasn't fighting alone this time. She was leading. Terilyn tried to retreat to the ship, but Jace cut her off. Blaster in one hand, a blade in the other. "You're not leaving," he said. "You're just a human," she sneered. "I'm the reason she didn't die," he replied. They fought, brutal, fast. Terilyn was skilled, but Jace fought with fire in his heart. He wasn't fighting for himself, he was fighting for Sierra. And Sierra, seeing it, rushed in, striking her aunt across the face with the full force of her past. Terilyn collapsed. The Dreadclaw above began to power its weapons, but Sierra looked to the sky and raised a beacon. A stolen royal signal, she activated it. The Dreadclaw froze, then it retreated. The crew recognized the signal, ancient, sacred, a command used only by those of the bloodline. Terilyn stared up in shock. "You still have the key?" Sierra nodded. "And I remember how to use it." The survivors erupted in cheers. Jace dropped to one knee, exhausted but smiling. Sierra walked toward him, and for the first time, offered her hand. He took it. "You're not alone anymore," he said. "I never was," she whispered. Behind them, the fires were out. The people were standing. Safe Point wasn't just a ruin now, it was home. And Sierra wasn't the outcast anymore. She was their protector, their voice, their future. She was no longer broken, and the galaxy took notice. The smoke had cleared. Above the valley, the stars were visible again, no longer hidden by warships or fire. The wreck of the Royal Dreadclaw lay crumpled on the far side of the mountains, a burnt shell. Its signal was silent now. Safe Point had survived, but it was no longer the same place. The survivors had rebuilt the inner ring using parts from the fallen ships. Engineers worked side by side, human and alien. Watchtowers rose, new lights glowed, and the old symbol of Safe Point was carved into the cliffs once more, two hands reaching for each other. At the heart of it all stood Sierra, not hiding, not limping, not silent. She walked with strength now. Her wings, though still torn, were wrapped in silver bracing. She wore armor built from the pieces of her enemy's elite guards. Around her waist hung the broken collar, now a trophy, not a chain. Children followed her through the halls. Fighters saluted her as she passed. Survivors asked her for guidance. They didn't see a fallen royal anymore. They saw a leader, but peace was not guaranteed. On the 10th day after the final battle, a message came from orbit, broadcast across a dozen systems. Sierra stood before a large screen in the war chamber, Jace at her side. The image that appeared made her breath catch. The High Circle of Valter, the full ruling council of her people. Once they had refused to even speak her name. Now they addressed her directly. "Sierra Valtor," the lead counselor said, "your blood is flawed. Your exile remains. And yet, we cannot ignore your actions." Another counselor added, "You held off royal forces. You activated a sacred beacon. You defended those beneath you. You have shaken the circle," the third said bitterly. "And the galaxy is watching." There was a pause. Then came the offer. "We offer you restoration. Come home. Reclaim your seat. Let this rebellion end with honor." Sierra stared at the screen, silent. Jace leaned closer. "You know what they're doing, right? They want you under their thumb again." She nodded slowly, but her face was calm. She pressed the transmit button. "My answer is simple," she said. "I am home." The council fell silent. "I've seen what you call honor," she continued. "Chains, silence, power for the few. I won't return to that." "You would turn down your legacy?" one gasped. "No," Sierra said. "I've built a new one." She stepped aside and showed them the people of Safe Point behind her, children being taught, guards patrolling the walls, a dozen species working as one. This is what legacy should look like. The screen went dark. Jace turned to her. You just defied the most powerful rulers in your galaxy. I didn't defy them, she said. I replaced them. Weeks passed. Refugees came from all corners of space, drawn by the story of a girl who had nothing and rose to protect everyone else. A girl the royals had broken, abandoned, and hunted. Now they called her the Flame of Safe Point. Ambassadors arrived too. Some offered peace, some warned of future attacks. All were surprised when she greeted them with calm dignity, not anger. But Sira never forgot where it started. One night, she stood at the edge of the cliff, where she and Jace had once looked down on the ruined valley. Jace joined her, 2 mugs in hand. He passed one to her. You're quiet tonight, he said. I was thinking. About what? About the girl I used to be, she said. The one lying in the mud, afraid to move. Jace sipped from his mug. She's still here, but she's standing now. Sira smiled faintly. I want to thank you. He looked at her. For what? For not giving up. For carrying me. For teaching me I wasn't trash. You never were, he said. You just needed someone to say it out loud. Sira stared at the stars. I want to do more, she whispered. Not just defend Safe Point. I want to change the system, free the ones still in chains, burn down the markets that still sell the weak. Jace grinned. Sounds like a long war. I'm not afraid of long, she said. Not anymore. He raised his mug. To the fire starter. She raised hers too. To the human who lit the match. Across the galaxy the story spread. A human soldier who bought a worthless slave. An alien girl who rose to lead the broken. A bond that turned into something greater than fear. Greater than blood. They were no longer just 2 survivors. They were the spark of something powerful. And in the dark halls of the High Circle, one last voice whispered to the shadows. She should have died. But now she leads. And the galaxy held its breath. Because